Dr. Alison Knight, and I'm a lecturer here at Royal Holloway in interdisciplinary early modern studies, which I do half of my teaching in the history department here and the other half in English. So there's often been a tendency to think of the Church of England in terms of a via media, a middle way that threads a path between Roman Catholicism on the one hand and continental forms of Protestantism on the other. This was a way of thinking about the Church of England that particularly arose in the 19th century. You know, this sense that the Church of England is moderate, that it's a sensible middle path that charts a course through, in between the extremes of Roman Catholicism on the one hand and continental Protestantism on the other, that these are two kind of extreme ways that both get it wrong, but England has taken this reasonable middle path. The difficulty with thinking about particularly the 16th, 17th century English Church in these terms is that it presupposes two clear camps of Catholicism and of Roman Catholicism and continental Protestantism, or even just Catholicism and Protestantism, which was very much not the case, especially in the early 16th century, where these were not worked out positions. They were in the process of being worked out, of being argued for, people finding and agreeing and disagreeing about exactly what these ideas mean. So coming after the fact and trying to put them into nice schematic groups it might help us to understand a little bit better, but it doesn't and can't describe how people would have understood it at the time. And also, thinking of it as an even keel does not at all describe the situation and the uncertainty and the ambiguity that people were experiencing at the time. It also doesn't work in another way, in the sense that the term Protestantism is anachronistic, especially in the context of, say, 1530s under Henry VIII. The term Protestant was first used at the 1529 Diet of Speyer, and it took even longer to actually catch on and become a popular term that was used to describe this particular group of people, which, by the way, didn't agree amongst themselves. Famously, Catholics were often pointing out that they argue amongst themselves more than they do with us. So the terminology that we're seeing in England in the early 16th century, we see all sorts of different terms. We see Gospelers, we see Reformers, we see Lutherans, we see followers of the New Learning, and even followers of the German heresy, that sort of thing. And this isn't only the case with Protestants. This is also the case with Catholicism. That we see many Protestants referring to themselves as Catholics, because that term Catholic, it stems from the Greek katholikos, which means universal. So many Protestants, what they were saying was that we're the true Catholics. And those Roman Catholics are, they're just followers of the Pope. It's a corruption. So terminology-wise, you're seeing a really messy use that's not regular at all. And this isn't just a question of terminology. It's really reflecting the ambiguity and the uncertainty of the time and how positions were being worked out, and that there weren't two clear camps. So, amongst people that we might characterize as Catholic now, you can get a wide range of difference. So you can get someone like Stephen Gardiner, who clearly follows traditional doctrine, but is a staunch advocate for Henry's divorce. So, how do you group that with someone like Robert Fisher, who was adamantly opposed to the break from Rome and died because of it? So we can't neatly fit these categories under two camps to think about England kind of threading a course between them. And then also, we can't think of the English Church as in any way charting a clear, direct course. It was making a lot of changes. We particularly see that under Henry, where it's real moves back and forth with the successive kind of doctrinal statements. And that's not just true under Henry. We see with successive doctrinal statements and articulations by the church, and there are so many. There's the 10 articles, there's the bishop's book, there's the 6 articles, there's the king's book, there's the 42 articles, the 39 articles, and it could keep going. Each one of these articulations of the doctrines of the Church of England is different. So which one do we say is that middle path? Because the difficulty with saying that something is a middle ground between two extremes is that middle ground, that in between, covers a lot of ground actually, and a lot of movement, So it's maybe it's charting a course, but it's amongst the rocks and it's around and it's taking the long route in many cases.